Hey everyone, I made another little tool. It's called Create Texture from a Mesh. So you can create a texture from a picture of your mesh. Basically, we're using the Scene Capture component to take a picture of whatever mesh you want and turn that into a texture. So you can get the purpose of it. The reason I did this originally and still is that I wanted to be able to grab the shape and texture of the shoe of any character and turn that into texture so that we can use that as a landscape stamp. So when you're walking, you can get the actual, shoe print. Now, that part of it, as far as making the shoe print and the landscape, is not part of this little tool. This simply just takes a screenshot kind of whatever texture you want that's in front of the camera, and you can slice it. So you can slice the bottom of it off or whatever part of it, and I'll show you that. And it's not just for characters; you can use it for static mesh. So let's take an example. Right now, um, here is the blueprint. Okay. And if you scroll down, you'll see Create Texture and some options here. You'll see Preview Mesh and Create Texture. You'll see the cut frame location, and mainly you're concerned with the Z location here. Um, Use white. Right now you can see that you're actually getting the texture of the character. So I've got a character selected, SCAM Manny. So I mean you can go to see him. So and you can just this is just a standard skeletal mesh. You can you can use any skeletal mesh. He doesn't have to be in the scene. You can just choose it from whatever options of your skeletal meshes are. So what we're doing right now is taking a picture of the bottom of that person's foot. And here's what the feet look like when we take a slice of it. So, um, and so we've got Manny here, we've got the feet, and we can go ahead and create textures. Now, I don't want for feet, I want an individual right and left foot. So to do that, all you need to do is um, there's two components. One is the actual one that has the functions to create the stuff. The other one is the scene capture component. So right now, to change anything on the scene capture component, you need to select it, and then you need to select the default scene route. Once I do that, I can go grab the mesh that I want. And now if you'll see the preview, so let's say I want to get just the right foot in my shot, I can move it over a little bit here, and you can rotate it and move it forward and backwards to get closer and farther away from the camera depending on what you want. Standard controls there, and I will grab this. And again, make sure in order to get these individual items from the screen capture blueprint, you have to make sure you start with the scene route. Once you click on the scene route, then you can click on any object and you can move it. You can move the preview things, the cameras, the static meshes that you're taking pictures of. So let's go grab this one. This is our left foot. Okay. Actually, I think I clicked off of the scene route, so let me grab that scene route again. Let me scroll down here. Okay, grab the default scene route, and now I can click on my mesh here. And let's see, I wanted the left foot, so let's move the left foot in the scene. That looks good. So now I have my right and left foot from the character. And then all I have to do is go back to my BP texture from Mesh, and up a little bit, and we've got here, and we hit Create Texture, and there we go. Now we have our right foot. We've got the alpha, and then you take off of it, then you've got the texture here. That's the original texture from the character. If you want to set it to just white, so maybe for convenience, if you just want an alpha white on it, you could just check use white texture and hit preview mesh again, and it'll just use white instead of the actual mesh from the character. So, and that's a material instance. You can easily change that, no big deal. So now we got another shot of Manny's foot, and this time not with the default texture, just with white. again, originally designed to stamp stuff, footprints into the ground. Okay, so that is the basic use of it. You click on BP Static Mesh from Texture. You say, do I want to use a skeletal mesh or do I want to use maybe another static mesh? This is like a column. So if I wanted to grab the base of this column, you can do that. So let me show you that. Let's go ahead and uncheck skeletal mesh. And again, you select your static mesh from here. I've got this Roman column selected from Mrgscans, and I clicked off of it. Let me go back to my blueprint texture from Mesh. Again, I'm not using the skeletal mesh. I don't want to use the white right now. I want to go ahead and preview it. And it takes a little bit. Not sure why it's so slow doing that. Okay, and the footprints I had to offset because you get a pair of footprints in the scene instead of left and right, so that's why this is offset a little bit. So we can just again simply select default scene root, select our mesh, and of course, since it's a column, we don't actually really need left and right. You'll get it anyway, but you don't really need it. But that's okay. This is just a simple tool. I'm not planning on doing much more to it than this. Maybe it's useful to you, or maybe it's not. But I wanted to show it to you anyway. So we'll create texture. All right. We can go here, and now we can see that we have a nice slice of the bottom of the mesh. Now the way this works, this Z part right here, the way this works by default, whatever mesh you choose to use, whether it's a skeletal mesh or static mesh, it's going to automatically slice the bottom part from Z0, so whatever your Z0 is, up. So for right now, it's at Z0, and I'm grabbing up one location, one unit, I guess one Unreal unit or whatever. So I get a very thin slice. If I wanted more, let me go back to my Manny just to kind of, well, it's columns fine. If I wanted to get more, I can just increase this to say 10. Okay, and let's see here. Let me do like 20. Preview. Okay, and you can see now that I've got a bigger slice of the mesh. Now the camera, of course, is only facing on the bottom, but if for whatever reason you wanted to get a bigger part of your mesh, and maybe the side or whatever, you have that ability to do that. So you can grab as much or as little mesh. If you put it at 100, I think you'll get the whole column, but maybe you wanted the side, so you could certainly do that. And then just do, and this is the right hand one, so we'll go back to our texture from mesh here and click on create texture. And now we will get a side shot of it. Oh, it's a little, okay, maybe that's not working as well as I expected. Still some things to work on. It's mainly designed for taking the bottom slice of it, of the thing. So it's not actually doing a very good job on that. Thought it would do better. I obviously hadn't tested that out. Weeks. I need to grab again my default scene root. Grab this, and let's set them back to. Oops, my bad. Let's scene root. Grab that guy, and set this back to. I think it was 90, negative 90, negative 90. Oh no, 90. 90. There we go. 90 degrees, and rotate them back the way it was. So it's mainly to get the bottom of it, but you can see there are possibilities. You can probably move it around, get different things. There's other things to set. This is using the standard SceneCaptureComponent, so there's a lot of things to set on that. And let's see. So that's the basics of it. So the only thing you need to do is when you download this, you just drag both of these blueprints. When you download it from GitHub, you'll get and extract it. You'll get a folder called Texture from Mesh Creator. So after you download it, oops, let me go to my downloads, and I'll leave a link, of course, for the downloads. So I downloaded it here. I got this texture from Mesh Creator Master. Open it up. This was also named master. I just took the master off it, renamed that. You grab that, you copy it into your project. Okay. So just into your content folder. So if we go to my test, go to my content folder, I just pasted that whole folder right here. Then you open up your project and you go to your folder, you go to blueprints, and you drag and drop both these blueprints into the scene. One, does the actual functions to capture. The other one is the actual scene capture component. You need them both. And let me go through a little bit about what the components do. So we're using render targets. Let me just open up the this one here. Okay, actually, that's not the one I want. Let me open up the scene component. This is the one where really all the work's done. Okay, so if we go to our viewport in our scene component, we can see that what we're doing is we have two cameras. These are two scene capture camera components, okay? And then what I'm doing is this is a temporary static mesh right and left. And then so what we're doing is we're taking a shot of this and we're writing that to, if we look at the camera in the scene capture components, you can write to a texture target, a render target. So I've got a right and left render target that we're taking whatever's in front of the camera and we're writing it to that render target. I'm then taking that render target and writing it to a static mesh just for temporary, and then I can show it to you in the material instance, and I can also take that static mesh and convert it to a texture. So that's all we're doing. We're taking the camera, we're taking whatever's in front of the camera, and right now you can see the static mesh right and static mesh left. We're using a render target to write that to the static mesh into the preview. And then we're taking that and creating a texture from it. So let's see. So if you look in your materials, we've got a screen capture left and right. And all that's doing is saying texture sample. I'm sampling my render target because again, that's what this is. This camera is writing out to a render target, and that's what my material is, and that's what we're using to put on the preview screen. And then that was plain. We're not using anymore. This is just a white material. When we check white, then if we look at the render targets, here's what it's actually the camera is writing out to. Okay. Let's see. And I just use material instances of my materials on it. Mesh. This is a temporary mesh that it writes out to when it's creating the actual texture. It's got to write it to a temporary mesh and then create the texture from that. And then here's a folder where all your out textures are, and I just use the name of whatever object you are using and put right and left on it. Again, originally designed for feet because you're going to have two with just one single materials or single meshes. You just have one. So that's the basics of how it works and how you set it up in your scene. You don't need any of this other landscape stuff that I've got. You don't need a landscape or anything. You could just have a blank empty scene and put these two in there. Then again, choose your BP texture from mesh. Scroll down to create texture. Set the slice size that you want of your texture. Set whether it's a skeletal mesh or a static mesh. Choose the mesh and then hit preview. And then if you want, and so this is what you're going to see when you, this is what's going to show up in your texture here. So whatever you want to show up in in your your texture, this is what you're going to see. So if you want to move things around, remember you have to go to the screen capture, select the default scene route, select what you want to move around, and I didn't click on it right. Default scene route, and grab it. Why am I not? Oh, I just had, I was seeing it, I just didn't have it. And then you can back up once you have it, and then you can move it again, move it around to get everything positioned away in your camera shot the way you want. Okay, thanks guys.